Hi, I'd like to share a short practice today where you'll be combining breath and movement. And we're going to change up the breathing patterns so that you can feel into how your breathing informs your movement, which is different from person to person and also sometimes from day to day. So it can be a really useful tool to connect your breath to your movement. It's one we use a lot in yoga asana practice, right? When we're doing yoga postures, we tend to also integrate the breath. So we'll be doing cat and cow a few different ways today. And this is a set of poses or movements that is really, really well known, but tends to be done with one particular breath pattern. So we're going to play with changing that up a little bit today and just see how that feels. Be kind to your body. So if being on hands and knees is just not the best for you, we can do cat and cow movements in any seated position, including in a chair. So as we come towards cat, you're just going to round your spine back. And then as we come towards cow, you're going to tip your pelvis forward, lift your heart, and maybe lift your gaze slightly. It does feel a little different in seated. I find it can be really helpful to have your hands connected to your legs as you do this. And there are other ways to explore this as well. So if you're having difficulty, do find a teacher or a yoga therapist who is knowledgeable about how to adapt cat and cow, because there are lots and lots of options that can make these movements work for just about anybody. So I will demonstrate on hands and knees, but feel free to use different positioning if you'd like and just follow along with the breath that we'll be doing. And do feel free to use any supports that are helpful. So you might change the position of your hands. Coming up on fists is a nice option for some people. Or you may choose to pad your knees. And any other adaptations, of course, are fine as well. Take a moment to kind of feel yourself in the center of whatever positioning you're using here. And then find your breathing, maybe slow your breathing down a little bit. And we're going to come into cat pose at first on an exhale. So you'll inhale where you are. And then as you exhale, you're going to tuck your tail under. Let your spine arch up like a rainbow or Halloween angry cat. Let your head come down. Be nice and gentle with this first cat. We'll take a few breaths here just to feel. And then you're going to find an inhale breath. Use your inhale breath to move towards cow pose. So your tail's going to come up now. Abdomen and heart coming down towards the floor. And maybe you're going to look forward as much as is comfortable for your neck. So there's no reason to go into a place of strain here. Nice and soft, still breathing. And then you might follow your breath for a few cycles. So using an exhale to cat and an inhale to cow. And just feeling into what this breathing, this is maybe a more conventional breath pattern, seeing how this feels. And then when you're ready, you might come back to your more neutral spine, tabletop position, and then switch the breath pattern. Rest in between. Feel free to pause the video if that's helpful. And then when you're ready, you're going to follow an inhale into cat pose and an exhale into cow. Inhaling to cat and exhaling to cow. And as you switch up this breath pattern, notice how, if at all, that changes your experience of the movement. So this is a little bit of a less traditional pattern for how a lot of us learn these postures. And for some of us, it's going to feel more natural. So that's interesting when we switch the breath up to just kind of notice, well, what happens for you when you do that? And how does that change, right? So feel free again to rest in between, to give your hands and knees a break, to lie down or come into a child's pose if you know it, or whatever resting position is helpful for you. This exploration is only useful if we take care of our bodies as we do it, right? And then when you're ready, we're going to try a third variation. So for this one, you're going to use a full breath cycle for each movement. You're going to take an inhale and an exhale as you come to cat. And then you're going to take an inhale and an exhale as you come to cow. And see what happens as you slow that movement down a little bit, right? So no rush. When you're ready, take your time. So sometimes we rush to the practice knowing what the practice is. Take your time to arrive in the starting position, to find yourself centered and at ease. And then whenever you're ready, it's going to be an inhale and then an exhale into cat pose. And then an inhale and an exhale into cow. So now you're feeling both breaths, both breath patterns, the mechanics of both breath, informing the way that you're doing this movement in both directions. Take your time, slow your breath down, trust yourself and trust your body. So it does occasionally happen that our system, the body mind, has an objection to one of these ways of doing the movements. So it's always important to trust yourself, right? If your system says no. But if you feel good, explore a few cycles this way, just kind of feeling into, well, how is this different if I use both the inhale and the exhale to do the movement? And then when you're ready, find a position that's restful for you. So again, you could come to a seat, you could lie down, you could take child's pose, or you could come to whatever other position might feel supportive for you. To just take a moment to pause and tune in. So there's value to changing up how we do the practice. There's value to discovering what comes natural to you, what you enjoy, what you find the most helpful. And sometimes with the support of a teacher or yoga therapist, it can be really helpful to explore some variations that are maybe more challenging for you. And to see if there are ways, perhaps, that you can start to shift your relationship to the movements and the breath. This kind of exploration is available to us in all kinds of different postures. So if you have done a yoga practice, you may have been taught a conventional breath pattern. And sometimes it's very interesting to play with that, change it up a little bit. So please feel free to be creative, stay tuned in, right? So you are studying yourself, you are engaged in the observation of what is going on within. It can be really fun to do this exploration, and I'd love to hear what you discover in the comments. Take really good care.